This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network.
All right, how you getting on? You well? Today's a very important day. I have the very last vape I'm ever going to puff on. All right, you can call me a goddamn bird from the Skelligs because I'm not a puffin a vape anymore. Whatever, it works, right? Never. This is the last one. All right, no more of the plastic teat. No more to puff. I'm done. All right? So, anyway, look, how you doing? You well? You good? Are you goosey? Huh? How's everyone doing? How's your granny for Slack? Today's the day for celebrating. Finally figured out a bed situation for the kids. Oh, let me tell you the fucking rigmarole we were doing. Hey, is this... have I just watched... Rick Astley's Never Gonna Give You Up because of the rigmarole that we've had to endure, right? Been up and down to IKEA. I got E-Flow knocking at the fucking door. I got E-Flow baying for blood. The amount of times I've been going up and down the M50, all right? And am I going to give them any money? Yeah, no, I will. Yeah, I will. But anyway, so we went and got these little Utakar beds, right? Little stackable beds. Terry had drawn up this plan for getting the kids to like have their separate beds, but also having like one big bed. We've had a very cushy situation for a while, right? Well, not really. We still have not shared a bed in almost 2 years now, right? And hey, that's fine. Still have the right, right? So, like whatever. Do you know what I mean? So that's fine. Okay, I'm still very satiated sexually. So that don't worry about that, right? But I haven't had a good cheeky spoon or whatever. Now, am I going to miss... I sleep in with the young fella most of the time. Am I going to miss looking at my phone till all hours in the morning and him being conked out? And my wife, who wakes at the sound of my eyelids opening, right? Well, that's going to be a bit of a readjustment for me. Probably means I'm getting more sleep. That's fine. All right? Good, grand, good, right? So, but when I was in with him, we had a kind of floor mattress because we'd seen a lot of parents doing the thing where they put the kid in the crib and then the kid cries and they go in and they either get into the crib, a cage, with their child, right? Or they lie on the floor and break their arms by kind of putting their arm in around the crib, all right? No one ever buys a crib thinking, is this the best solution for me lying on the ground, you know? Is there a little hole there that I can put my arm in, kind of comfort the child, right? No one ever thinks of that. They're like, oh, that's good. The bars are closed. That means I can't squeeze out. It also means I can't squeeze my arm in when I'm lying on the ground. When I'm literally sleeping more on the ground than I have in a bed. And I've just seen that happen. So Terry had a very clever solution. Put two single mattresses on the ground, and you just sleep in that, and you can get in bed with them. Very easy, very simple. Rolls out of bed, no big deal, right? So then we're trying to figure out another solution to get actual beds off the ground, no dust. And we found these little Utakar stackable beds in IKEA, right? And then she kind of devised a plan. Now, let me tell you something. When I don't understand something, I couldn't anchor myself to the visualization of what she was thinking. She was thinking 3 beds side by side, getting 2 of these Utakar beds, having 3 of them side by side and one at the bottom. And I'm like, you're insane. That's insane. Do I have a U-shaped, like, bed? Doesn't make any sense. I couldn't wrap my head around it. Yeah, I still said, don't worry, I'll be the one to go to IKEA and get it all right. So I went out and I got 1 set of Utakar beds because that's what I thought we wanted. She came back. She was like, what the hell is this? And I was like, I thought that's what we wanted. And then we looked at the mattresses and they weren't the right mattresses. And because I have, what I've realized is a highly defensive to criticism thing. I was like, that's exactly what you said. I will, to not be wrong, I might lie, right? Just, look, it happens, right? I don't know what it is. I think it's an ADHD thing, right? Hey, it's an ADHD thing. ADHD thing. Smile at camera, little glint on the teeth or the eye. Ding. Hey, it's an ADHD thing. Ding. Whatever. So I'm like, no, you said that. And I'm like, no, that's gaslighting. Fine. I'm wrong. Right. So then went out, got another set of these Utica beds, right? Had to return the other mattresses. Then I came back with the other set of Utica beds and 4 mattresses this time. And then Terry had a look at them. She was like, they're the wrong mattresses. And I'm like, all right, let's do that what we did last before. The thing again where I can't be wrong, so I try and gaslight you, right? No, you said to get that one. And she goes, no. And I'm like, okay, you didn't. You said get the more expensive one, which was a box spring mattress. But I can't be wrong. I just can't. I can't, right? Because now I have a thing linked to my identity as a father linked with this. So if I'm wrong, I'm a bad father, right? So I'm like, no. And we were back and forth. And miserable. And then we were in the car. And I said to her, do you know what? Because we were thick with each other. And then we were driving out to pick up a click and collect order for our shopping, right? We had the kids in the back. And I was like, we were like not talking to each other. And that's never good when that's happening, right? So I said to her, isn't it mad how hard it is to parent when you're annoyed with each other? And she goes, yeah, it is. Isn't that mad? And I was like, it just goes to show. I was trying to like weasel my way back in, right, without actually conceding, even though I was totally wrong. Right? And I said, isn't it, and whatever, you might think, maybe she wasn't thick with me, but then it escalates. Do you know what I mean? No real issue with me making a mistake. It's me being highly defensive and then being all, like, actually, no, you said that. You know what I mean? All that, oof. You know what I mean? That's when you have a real scrap on your hands, right? So then I was like, it just goes to show how happy we are most of the time, isn't it? Because this is a very rare feeling where we're like not talking to each other and like the kids need things and we're not really communicating very well. And I'd say a lot of people actually probably do have that more regularly than we do. So here, look, we're better, better than everyone. No, but it's like, isn't it great that most of the time we're really happy? And she goes, yeah. And then she's like, and I know someday we're going to laugh about this, but not. And I was like, no, not today. Not today. And then it was actually today we started laughing about it. And then I knew she was cool with me again when I did the click and collect shopping and I opened the boot to put the shopping in and then realised that I had put all the mattresses back in the boot because I didn't want to see them because I was ashamed. All the wrong mattresses. So they were jammed into the boot and we had no space for our shopping and I had to pour it all over the floor of the car and all over by the feet. And let me tell you something. When you have snacks or food in the vicinity of a child, they're going to lose their shit. Like what? Like this is Willy Wonka land, man, down by their feet. You got my daughter, the rat queen, gnawing on a block of cheese. Don't even know where she got the cheese. I don't even know how she reached down to the floor to get the cheese. She's very well strapped in the car seat, but she managed to was gnawing away on a block of cheese. And she was laughing at that, and I'm like, okay, great, good for us, huh? So then I went out and I got the proper mattresses today. It's been a real fucking faff, but we have it sorted now. Solution, and hopefully we'll get back in the same bed again. That'll be exciting. Nice little spoon. Nice having a nice warm butt beside you. Looking forward to that. So I'll let you know how it goes. Gonna give a vasectomy as well, so just that's unrelated. Gonna get vasectomy. I think I was telling you guys this with chatting to some other dads about vasectomies. And one lad was like, oh, use my guy. He's got, he's really good. It's only like one day in bed. Do you know what I mean? You have to rest up for one day. I'm like, oof, that sounds pretty good. Fucking rest. Everyone fucking leave me alone for a day. Sounds amazing. I don't care what you do to me, bollocks. I don't care what you do. You can fucking castrate me now if I get a whole day in bed playing the Switch or something. I can't do anything. No, being the pack horse, bringing shit up and down the stairs, And then another dad was like, oh, my guy, he's dirt cheap. And he says it's 2 days recovery. And I'm like, 2 days? And cheap? And then I said it to Terry. And she was like, so hang on, you would actively go with a worse doctor. A cheaper doctor, arguably, right? For an extra day in bed. Or, potentially a worse operation. Just to have an extra day in bed. And I said, Terry, I would get a vasectomy of a gibbon with a spoon for 2 days in bed, left alone. So watch the space. Just kind of thinking. Whenever I hear people getting the vasectomy, I'm always like, "Oh, you dog! Oh, you do! Jesus, you must be shagging non-stop, Wow. But that's not, I hope it's not worse. I hope it doesn't take the joy away. But it's just, while I'm of sound mind, while I am of sound mind, now, I have made a decision I've made a family planning situation. Like, I've smashed it. Do you know what I mean? We killed it. We got two perfect. I've perfected having kids, right? We've two perfect kids. We perfected it. I'm out on top. I'm in the Bellagio. I'm cashing out. I'm $100,000 profit. Do I want to go back to the craps table and risk it again for an accident? Sometime down the line, we're like, oh, do you know what? Oh, so-and-so had a little bean of a baby, and they were all falling asleep. Oh, we not, and then we have another kid, and they're like mad into football or something. Shit. I fucking bottomed out. I'm broke. No, thank you. But all the best to everyone who wants, a larger family. We are a Protestant family. We raise our children in the Protestant way. We have a boy and a girl, right? So, getting the snip. But I'm going to say to the fucking quack. I'm going to say, Doc, this better not ruin my jizz. Doc, I still better get. Here is a barometer with a little cardboard arrow, okay? And it has a 1 and it has a 10. If my climaxes are currently 10, show me where they will be after the procedure. And it better fucking say 10. Better fucking say 10. I don't know if it is 10, to be honest. I don't know. It's probably it's not the same. It's not the same, It's not the same as when I was 17. It's just not. I'm not talking about boners. I'm not talking about the differences in bone. My boners are fine. What am I doing? Don't worry about this. Don't listen to this. But anyway, how are you keeping? You well? We got the bed sorted. I'm getting back into bed with my woman. I'm telling her fella to get out of here, right? Now I'm back. All right? I'm being assertive. But aside from that, what else is going on? My tummy issues seem to have subsided, which is good. Going in for a colonoscopy. I don't know what that is. But I was saying it to Jordan. I was like, I hope it's a camera up my arse. And he's like, you want a camera up your arse? And I was like, yes. Are you telling me you want to go through your life and haven't given the option of a camera up your arse? You didn't take it? Why are you so weak and so stubborn that you don't have the curiosity or the grit to explore your own hole? You would leave this earth with an unexplored hole, So, I already had the one. Why am I being so dirty today? Because I did have the one up the willy that time, And your mum was like, I'm going to put a telescope up there. And I was all like, oh, more like, I tell you, you might actually just need a microscope the size of my yolk. And he was like, no, what are you doing? Why are you doing this? Why are you doing this? I'm trying to keep things professional, He seemed to say with his eyes. But, why would you not? Why would you leave? They say we know more about space than we do our own sea, which is insane. And what an insane thing to say. That's up there with dumbest things ever, like the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again. We're expecting the same results. My brother did a very great video about it because he's always hated it. My brother Andy Cantwell, right? We know more about the sea than we do. And we know more about space than we do our own sea. Sorry, so I'm saying that because, what I want to know what's going on in there. I want to have a look. I want to have a look what's going on up there. I don't know what a colonoscopy is. Apparently you drink something and you shit everything. Everything goes out. So, hope you're not eating anything when you're listening to this. I'm very gross now today. But look, that's what's going on in my life. I wish I had something else to talk to you about. I'm talking about how I'm looking to have, the warm buttocks of my wife close to me in a bed, and I'm getting my shit flushed out of me. That's my life right now, okay? So, I don't know, I don't know what to tell you. I did find it interesting, though, with the whole bed thing. The how defensive I am, because especially when like I go and I do something like getting beds for the kids, right? I kind of go there with like a beaming pride. Like my identity is provider. Okay? My identity is outdated interpretation of what it is to be masculine in building the beds or setting up the beds, carrying heavy things, outdated, right, whatever, what I was raised on. Do you know what I mean? Doing the things that my wife, to be fucking honest, could do, but I do, right? And I kind of, delude myself to be like, well, she'd struggle to do this because she's smaller than me. So she does all the organization, all of it, right? But I carry some heavy fucking shit, all right? Terry, look, I couldn't do what you do, you can't do what I do. Except I genuinely couldn't do what you do, and you could do what I do. All right? And that's where we're fucking yin and yang, we're karma, okay? It's these little, like, kind of fake little stories that you kind of have to tell yourself in a relationship, which is, look, I got this, she's got that. And it's who's to say how equal it is this equal, of what you can bring. But I think that's important sometimes. Terry's very good at making it. Terry will make a big deal if I order like a takeaway. She'll make like a thing for the kids and be like, and look at this, look what your dad brought in to the house for us. Like it's a deer. Like it's a skinned deer draped over my bloody shoulders. And I'm coming in, we're eating tonight, kids. She plays into it, you know what I mean? It's very good. It's very, very beneficial. But, yeah, anyway. Finish that Vince McMahon documentary. Oh, to use a phrase of my favorite internet troll who posts on all my TikTok videos, it was a tough watch. Because, yeah, I don't know. I'm trying to be better. I'm trying to be better at kind of not allowing the full... Hang on, let me rephrase this. I watched this documentary and I used to love Vince McMahon, even though I knew he was a fairly despicable person. Even though I knew that he was a bully. How he got started was basically breaking a gentleman's contract of putting on wrestling events in territories that weren't his own. The McMahon's own, the New York kind of area. And then they started just popping up doing wrestling events everywhere. Then they also started broadcasting nationally on cable. Then they started making a lot of money from stepping into other people's territories. When they had that money, they were basically like plucking the star wrestlers from each of those territories. Each territory kind of had a champion. And then the territories you might get arrested from another, or, territory come over and it was a champ versus champ and all this kind of stuff. And it was very kind of handshake, gentleman's business and all this kind of shit. And then he kind of encroached on that. I always knew he was a bit of a bully, but I'm like, hey, he came out with the greatest product, Also knew that he was a bit of a dickhead. You see him in interviews fucking starting fights with people. I also knew that he probably overlooked ridiculously grueling work schedules for his wrestlers. They were working so often that they were kind of forced into hiding the injuries that they had. And the fact that he had a doctor that was on staff who was actually supplying them with steroids. They tried to make it so that it looked like Vince McMahon was the one directly telling the wrestlers to take steroids to save their contract. But either way, if he was overlooking the fact that they were taking steroids to train harder to have the physique that would get them to the top, or the fact that they could take steroids to help them still work out or perform even though they're really injured. And all these wrestlers dying before the age of 40, all this kind of stuff happening. The fact that he overlooked the amount of head trauma and concussions that people had and didn't give them adequate medical leave and all this. So I kind of knew all this. And then all the sexual misconduct stuff came out. And when it came out in 2022, I was kind of like, that's awful that he would kind of leverage his power to basically, to sexually assault someone or to abuse that power to have a romantic relationship with someone. And then the whole thing came out and you got the full scope of what he was doing, and essentially even trafficking this woman to other members of staff. Very fucking fairly disgusting behavior. And that's when I was like, fuck him. But watching this documentary and looking at all these kind of moments that were so pivotal for me, they were crazy and badass and sexy and violent, and they were a perfect 12-year-old fodder, which is, what I was during the Attitude Era, 12, 13. I was in the perfect spot for that. And I always look back on some of the more dodgy storylines or some of the things that they made some of the female wrestlers do, and I kind of was like, different time, and I was willing to look at that as like, different time and stuff. But I don't know. I think I haven't been brave enough to. I don't think I have been brave enough to actually take all those things on board and like allow it to change my perspective of those things. I think I was very latched on. I watched wrestling, found it like this kind of intrinsic part of my personality, watching the Attitude Era in the late 90s and early noughties. But we were watching stuff, and I've got back into wrestling, and I was even at the fucking the Fight Factory wrestling event in East Wall. It was unbelievable crack. I was at OTT, and that was amazing. But something being in like this tiny room, there's like 60 of us in there. We're all just standing ringside. It was unreal. One of the best vibes at a live wrestling event I've ever been at. And I'd love to get my young fella into it as well. I think he'd enjoy it. It'd be a very fun thing. There's probably not going to be bringing him over to fucking Anfield or Old Trafford or whatever normal people do with their kids, But we were watching the Vince documentary and, watching all the kind of divas stuff and how scared a lot of the women, even though they're acting, are in the ring or having the dresses pulled off them or something like that, and crowds going crazy. And like, Terry was watching it and she was like, I used to be sitting watching this, with a big group of lads or whatever, whether it be my brother's friends or whatever, and just kind of being scared. Just watching this and seeing everyone cheering and kind of being a bit scared. I was like, that's fucking awful. That's awful. And it was the exact opposite reaction of what I was. I was in fucking an all-boys school. And we were like, oh, did you see the bit where they fucking, where they pulled Sable's dress off or whatever like that. And, we're horny fucking kids, talking about it in an all-boys school. And we're all isolated in there. I never would have thought what a girl would have felt seeing that. And I'm not trying to get all fucking, but like, it was eye-opening for me. I knew. But then I was also, Jesus, I need to be a bit more, I need to put more fucking work in, to be honest, in allowing, not being, like, I was even being defended. We were watching and Terry was like, John Cena's like, oh, Vince McMahon was like a father figure to me. And she's like, how can he fucking say that? He knows the shit that he did. And I'm like, maybe he didn't. And I'm like, why am I fucking defending John Cena? It doesn't need to be, I feel like things have to be very binary in my head or something. And if I'm critical of John Cena for thinking that Vince was like a father figure to him, or The Undertaker, or any of these wrestlers, I can be critical of that and also like their matches. You know what I mean? I think I just need to do more fucking work. And not, like, I found myself just fucking being defensive of this, or somehow being like, allowing myself to really enjoy the good things that people have done and trying to kind of ignore a little bit some of the bad things people have done. A little bit, do you know what I mean? And I don't know why. But I think I need to do a bit more work on that, I think I need to do a bit more work on, we live in a very kind of binary thing. It's like, It's almost like cancelled or not cancelled or something like that. Do you know what I mean? And there's a big grey area, and I think you can just accept that some things people have done have been good, and some people think, you know, you're not going to say John Cena is a complete fucking dickhead asshole because he had a father-son relationship with a genuinely evil, despicable person like Vince McMahon when he's going to like 700 dying kids, just like, you know, for Make-A-Wish. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not one or the other. And I think I need to be a little bit less binary in my thinking sometimes. Or I don't know why I'm kind of in running to the defense of some things because I like something. And I don't know why I'm trying to figure this out on a microphone that I'm putting out publicly. But yeah, I was like, why am I fucking being defensive? Or why am I trying to isolate the bad things of Vince McMahon to like the last year of allegations when they've come forward? Is it because now they become so egregious it's undeniable? But all these other things, I'm like, yeah, that was fucking shitty, and that was shitty. Why does it need to be I support them or I don't support them? I don't know, it changed my kind of way of thinking, and it made me realize that I maybe overlook or refuse to accept some things that people do until they become so egregious that there's no way that you can't. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It was very eye-opening. And yeah, I don't know. Still need to figure that out. But I definitely think that I need to do more work. Or recognize my own thinking of, well, no, they couldn't have been bad because I liked them when I was a kid. Or, no, that wasn't bad because it was a different time. It's bad, but that's okay. Do you know what I mean? It's not okay, but you know what I mean? It's like I need to allow myself and work harder at being critical of bad things that people do and allow there to be, like, I remember before the tide turned on Conor McGregor, a mate of mine, and everyone was on the fucking McGregor bandwagon, and a mate of mine was just like, he's a cunt, he's a fucking bully, he's a dickhead. And I'm like, yeah, but like, what he's doing for Ireland is, you know, and he's like, no, he's an asshole, like, he's fucking bashing lads, he's hopping in fucking, this is before the tide had really turned, and I was like, oh man, I don't know, I wouldn't agree with him, even though I did agree with the things he was saying, but I'm like, no, you know, I support him, or, you know, I don't know, do you know what I mean? Not everyone is great, not everyone is awful, and why does it have to be one or the other? Do you know what I mean? Anyway, still need to figure this shit out, but I need to maybe allow myself or work a little bit harder at, yeah, I didn't have that experience watching wrestling as a kid, but someone else did, and that is a truth. You know, that is a truth. So, you need to take that on board. Was it great? Was it, that was just the time, or, yeah, but if you were a 13-year-old boy, no, that was shitty. And it's better that they've gotten rid of that. Just figured shit out. Okay? But, yeah, it's a good documentary. I highly recommend it. There's a crazy part where, because it really tells the story of wrestling in the last 50 years while also telling the story of Vince McMahon in the last 50 years. Like, every kind of scandal kind of reflects where wrestling was at a time. And, you know, those two things are just so linked, you know, the story of wrestling and the story of Vince McMahon. And the whole idea that everything's a lie, you know? Wrestling is a lie. You pretend to be a character. You don't break kayfabe is what they call it. Kayfabe is the maintaining that this is all real. Undertaker, when he leaves the locker room, you know, until he gets into his car, until he goes into his bedroom, he's the Undertaker. He looks angry. He scowls at people. If he has to do press and there's a good guy on the, you know, in the chair beside him, he has to scowl at him, you know? They've changed that a little bit now, and people have a bit more insight to people really want to know what's going on behind the scenes, and there's a kind of a weird balance now that wrestlers do. Like, there's Cody Rhodes, for example, the current champ. You know, he might talk about things, but he still will talk about when the decision was made to get a match, not the decision was made for him to win a title. Do you know what I mean? Like, he'll still but he walks that line very well. But Vince McMahon doesn't know who he is. They're trying to figure out this whole documentary who he is. And then there's one part where they say, well, you did say you didn't like how Ted Turner was the guy who ran WCW, and he bought up a lot of the WWF's talent. He took Hulk Hogan, he took Bret Hart, Kevin Nash, Scott Hall, all these things. And Vince is like, I don't like how Ted did business. And the interviewers are, well, isn't that how you did business when you took over the territories? And he's like, no, it was different. Well, you went into all these territories and you bought out their talent. You did exactly that. You offered more. So how can you say that you don't like how he did business? And he says something like, what I say isn't often, I won't do the voice. What I say isn't often what I think, but once I say it, I believe it. And I'm like, fucking, well, there's that. It's so insane. And I bet there's a lot of billionaires and a lot of very powerful people, that once they've said it, that's the truth. They're so sure in their convictions because their convictions have got them to where they are. So it has to be true. And it's kind of like flying, sailing with your own fucking compass. And, I don't really know if that's a term. You know what I mean? But if he said it was true. And I don't know. It was fucking crazy. I highly recommend the documentary. And certainly made me think a little bit differently about, I don't know, just going all gung-ho on anyone. You go all gung-ho on someone you're willing to overlook or ignore. It's the same thing that Vince McMahon had when he had control. They were like, well, he employs me, so it's all good. He's given me this opportunity, so it's all good. Look what he's done for wrestling, it's all good. Until it's something so egregious, something so insane, deplorable, and despicable, and evil. Like when you read like the transcripts of, this relationship that he had in the last couple of years. Fucking great crack. I came out here fucking having great crack. No, it's all this shit. I was talking about clearing out all the shite, having a ride. And now I'm all getting into fucking critical thought and all this shit. I don't know. Anyway, look, I hope you enjoyed this podcast. I've been Tony Campbell. Thank you so much for listening to it. If you'd like to listen to more of this sort of shit, you can do so over on Headstuff Plus, where just for the price of a pint, you can listen to a bonus podcast every single Friday. You will also get early bird tickets for any gigs that I put on, and I'm actually hoping to put on a pretty big gig. Look, I'll tell you, I'm putting on my own toy show. I'm finally doing it. I'm wrangling in my friends. I'm going to finally do what I've always wanted to do and host my very own toy show, and that's going to be in Vicar Street, and it's going to be in December. It'll hopefully be on sale next week. It'll be announced this week. I'm just getting the blurb ready, getting the old artwork ready, and I'm really very much looking forward to it. I think that's kind of the only real big gig that I have this year. So if you're looking for something to do for Christmas, you're looking for a great Christmas present, I highly recommend you check out the Late Tony Show in Vicar Street in December. Tickets hopefully be on sale next week. Anyway, thanks very much for listening to this podcast. All the best. I love you so much. Bye-bye.
This show is part of the Head Stuff Podcast Network, a hub for the creative and the curious. Shows are produced in association with Head Stuff and the Podcast Studios Dublin. Find out more or become a member at headstuffpodcasts.com.